Playing the Galactic Republic in Star Wars Legion means I have a lot of clones. Most of them look like this guy. Fresh off Camino with his clean white armor. A shiny, as they were referred to in the Clone Wars show. Today we'll be taking this shiny new clone trooper and turning him into a battle-hardened member of the 212th Attack Battalion. We'll be giving him the traditional bold orange markings and some battle damage to give his armor the wear and tear it should have after fighting for years in the Clone Wars. Hello, my name is Ryan, and welcome to my channel. The 212th Attack Battalion is Obi-Wan Kenobi's clone trooper battalion that he commanded during the Clone Wars. Clone Commander Cody is one of the most prominent members, appearing in quite a few different Star Wars media. Many members of the 212th have unique paint schemes, but to hold on to what remains of my own sanity, I'm painting most of my standard infantry in a similar scheme. I'm actually basing most of this off of a Sideshow Collectibles picture I found online, just because I think it looks so dang cool. So I'll be saving most of the unique or special stuff for named characters or elite troop choices like ARC troopers. To start with, we have a freshly painted clone trooper wearing Phase 1 armor. He was zenithal primed with white, and then black details were added for his undersuit, weapon, and some details on his helmet. For his 212th orange markings, I'm going to be using some Vallejo Clear Orange. I really like the coverage of this one, but you can always use a different brand if that's what you have, or if you just have a different one you prefer. Shake it up really good. I like to add stainless steel ball bearings to mine as mixing balls to help stir it up while I shake. Next, we're going to thin down our paint with a little bit of water, and I'm going to get started with the V shape on his chest. This model has his arms in the way, so sometimes it's a little tricky getting my brush in there. Some people like to glue the arms on after painting in a sub-assembly to make it a little easier. Whichever way works best for you is the one you should go with. Next, I'm going to work on his shoulder pads and trace out the semicircle-ish shapes that the 212th have. It covers about the upper third of his shoulder or so. Having a brush with a fine point is really helpful here. I also really like having a painting handle of some kind so I can easily rotate my model around to get better angles while I'm painting. As you can see here, I'm taking a quick look to compare both sides to make sure they're even. Now, I'm going to move on to the helmet and start by carefully brushing in the front of the triangle shape. I like to start at the front because I think it's easier to get that tip aligned in the center that way. I carefully pull the shape of the triangle back towards the back of the helmet fin and then fill it back in. There's quite a bit of lightning and thunder going on while I'm recording this, so hopefully not too much of that comes through in the recording, but we'll see. After that, I repeat for the other side. Though, because of the positioning, I found it easier to fill it in the opposite direction. As you can see, this side of the triangle was a little crooked, so I'm going to come back in here and clean up that edge a little bit. Next up, I'm moving down to his thighs. The 212th have a pretty thick band starting at their hips that kind of wraps around the upper edge of their thigh armor. I try to keep this marking as straight as possible. Instead of moving on to the other leg, I guess I decided to work on the closest knee instead. The 212th have some kind of a rectangle-shaped band going diagonally across their knee pad, starting on the upper inside corner, angling towards the lower outside corner. It also crosses over the raised ridge along the center of the knee plate. Not sure why I decided to continue to the other knee pad before doing the other thigh plate. There wasn't some grand plan for this process. And now I'm finally going back to the right thigh. Again, wrapping that thick band around the upper edge towards the inner thigh. And remember, I'm using that Sideshow Collectibles picture that I found online as reference for all of my standard infantry for the 212th. So when I refer to the 212th, I'm meaning that specific picture that I'm using. Up next, I finally return back to his torso armor and work on his back plates. The reference image has this kind of diagonal trapezoidal shape alongside the lower and inner sides of their torso. This shape is on both the front and rear half of the armor. trying to make sure both sides match as best I can before moving on. Up next, their bicep armor has a triangle shape roughly centered on it. This is fairly quickly to paint in on both sides. Up next is the shin armor. These have a band that wraps around the very bottom. In some reference pictures, it looked like it just sloped outwards from the front, but in others, it looked like it wrapped all the way around. It was hard finding better reference, so I'm hoping this shape is close. Then lastly, we're going to freehand this half a hexagon shape on his codpiece. This takes some patience, but it isn't too bad of a shape to freehand, even being this small. And there you have it, a proud member of the 212th Attack Battalion, ready to fight alongside Obi-Wan Kenobi. Until they need to kill him, that is. You could stop here, add some basing, and call it a day. But I want to take this a little further. Alright, now let's add some battle damage. I like to start by taking some white and thinning it down just a bit. I may have actually thinned it down too much in the video. And then carefully picking out some of the areas on the armor that I feel could have some wear and tear. The knee pads are deliberate. He's in a kneeling position, so I could see the paint getting scratched up here a lot. I also add a lot of random scratches to the armor as well, though I probably should have been using a thinner brush. Mine has a fairly nice tip, but the body is pretty fat, and I kept making my scratches thicker than I intended to here. Oh well, it happens sometimes. Honestly, the amount of scratches you add here is personal taste. Maybe you want your guy's armor to look pretty new or well taken care of. That's fine too. Maybe you want to go really crazy and add way more scratches than I did. Have fun with it. I keep pulling back and taking a better overall look at the model instead of focusing in on the little details too. I want to keep in mind how the entire model looks, not just the single scratches I'm putting on. I'm trying to distribute them fairly evenly overall while still keeping things as random as I can. After that, we're going to come in with some black and make some holes, scratches, and dings in the armor. Most of these are fairly randomly placed, but I tried to put more of them on the front of his armor where I felt he was more likely to be shot at. I also deliberately placed some, like on his helmet, because I thought it would look cool in that area where paint was missing. And I had accidentally made that scratch thicker than I meant to, so this was my own way of covering up that mistake. You could stop here, but I don't quite feel like these black marks look good enough on their own. So we're going to come back with some more thinned down white. I'm using Army Painter's Matte White, or for Matthew White, and basically tracing along the bottom side of some of these black marks. I want to overlap the black just a bit, creating a nice transition from black to gray to white. This helps add to that 3D effect of these marks and make them look a little bit more than just random black dots on your mini. I only trace the bottom side because it helps it look like the armor has been dented inwards just a bit and sells the effect a little bit more. On some areas like this longer scratch that I accidentally made too wide, I come back and thin it back down some by painting white on both sides. Alright, this guy is almost done. I'm going to take some Army Painter Leather Brown, thin it down really good, and coat his entire base. I'm not going to go too crazy with the bases on most of my standard troops. I want them to match. And this might take a couple of layers, but I want to make sure I've got good coverage. Once that's dry, I'm going to come back with some little grass tufts and glue those down. Now he matches the rest of my 212th Phase 1 clones. And there you have it. This clone trooper has gone from shiny to soldier. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe for more miniature videos, and hit that notification bell. Want to share your own miniature paintings? Join our community Discord and show off your work. Link in the description below. I can't wait to see what you're working on. Until next time, happy painting.